Today's episode is brought to you in part by Pfizer and Moderna, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, and China.
Edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media. He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job. That is our job. That is our job.
Yeah. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Hey everyone, Dave here, December 1773. With me as always is Ryan. This is episode 95 of The Weekly Show, all of the week's hottest topics with a twist. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. More importantly, go follow us on Rumble. It is the free speech alternative to YouTube. Be sure to Rumble the video if you're watching on Rumble. We're going to show some clips today about why it's so important to be a part of a free speech platform. Project Veritas, of course, did break some undercover videos of Twitter employees, so I'm interested. We're going to look at those and react to those videos as well. We have the news about Biden's Twitter followers and what that means, in our opinion. And I got something for Ryan that I didn't tell him I had. It is COVID related, and it might actually take over the show, so I do apologize for not letting you know that was coming, given the fact it's probably it might take over the narrative, right? Of our show. Our narrative. Our narrative is truth, though.
I try. I think we try to, generally.
Big thank you to all of our new sponsors. Ryan, you don't know who they are yet, but when you watch the show when it premieres Monday at 7 p.m., you will now know who our sponsors are.
Sponsored?
We got sponsors. We're getting pretty big. Okay, I'm kind of surprised these people sponsored us, but it is what it is, Ryan. And then Ryan, speaking of curveballs,
I can't wait for this ad. I don't know who would sign me on to pay me a partnership or promo for something.
Speaking of curveballs, Ryan, you said right before we started recording that you had something that you didn't know you were going to tell me about, and you're not going to tell me. And now I have to try to make it segue into our show.
Yeah, it's depressive.
Oh, okay. Well, get ready to be depressed, audience. Hope you keep watching like you always do.
In all seriousness, last week we talked about the Buffalo tragedy. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody makes jokes. I made jokes. You know, whatever. I'm not here to apologize for jokes because I'm against that, but we didn't take a moment of silence. So I wanted to do that quick. Cool, man. But more importantly, I said on that podcast, this isn't about gloating. This is just about the 7 degrees of separation and having conversation and people you meet. It's like literally everything I live, right? And this is why it's so being a person so awesome to me. Even though in the wake of tragedy, you always know somebody. I told you guys I'm waiting to hear that I knew somebody that knew that was there, and I did. You know? And it's not like a crazy personal friend, but it's not the point. You know, it's just the fact that a guy who... Mm-hmm. You know, and then it was somebody involving their life. That's all I'll say, because whatever. But the guy was a good dude. He was he's like a deacon and all these other things. Like the guy that actually died in the tragedy was a deacon. And I don't know if you know this, David, but our old job, Basil, was there, and they were supporting and donating. The bills were down there. And I bring it up because, I got sick last week. I'll get to that a little later because that's another rant I wanted to get into this week. I think they're spraying shit in the air. But I got sick this week, and I think what really pushed me over was actually think about everything. You know, I've been going shopping at all these very places that are on this list. I don't live in fear.
No. But, and we've never advocated that anybody should live in fear.
But it's just for all of it to come full circle, I think everybody around this area kind of felt the same way. And then I saw the Buffalo Bills go down there. And it's not all about sports and all these people. They're great things. I know it's a private business and organization. People hate the Pagulas and the rich people, but it's their PR program on social media, so it could be exception. You know, I'm trying to stay objective with it. You know, they still are just a dumb sports team. after all. But dude, you seen they're releasing them shirts? Everybody wants those support love shirts. Choose love shirts. And it's just like, dude, the sports, like, that's the point of a sports team when you don't got a lot around you and stuff, like, to be there. And, like, all those family, like I said, the Pagula family was donating, apparently. The Basils donated. I'm sure there's plenty others that I don't know. But, I mean, I worked for the Basil family. You know, Dave worked for the Basil family. What great people. You know, it's not a tragedy to, like, shine and stand there. The actual program that they were supporting, the Fathers program, they've done for many, many years. So they were just contributing and highlighting it and like, look, we, you know, combating this violence. And but you know what, I don't know, it really pissed me off, you know, because I've seen it all week is the Buffalo shooting. I'll hear about the rest of my life, a terrorist attack and, you know, civil rights violations and all these things. And, you know, granted, they're fitting labels, right? But it's just a dude from out of town to tarnish my city's name, where I live, how it affected all my countrymen and like and women. It's like, man. But yeah, the Bills and Basil, man. I was like, man, that's the point of like all these like I said, all the things we talk about, like the people you know, the people you meet, the way you get out there. You never really think about how things go when you start experiencing life a lot as a young man, and then when you get older, you really see a lot of it come around full circle. You know, like the good people you met and like why they're good people and what makes good people and how people are coming together and stuff. So,
Ryan, we're not here to imply anything, given YouTube's rules, but you can watch us on Rumble as previously stated. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say, Ryan, as you have on the show, that Biden did steal the election. What I will say
is if he did steal the election,
it's quite curious that the most popular president in the history of presidents or elections or the country would have to have fake Twitter followers. And this is all things that stem from Elon Musk potentially purchasing Twitter. It still isn't official, which is, you know, the weirdest thing. Honestly, at this point, Elon doesn't have to purchase Twitter. The people have already seen what we already knew. New York Post posted an article. It said that an audit finds that half of Joe Biden's Twitter followers are fake, which is fake news because it wasn't half; it was 49%. Just so we don't get misinformation. The disinformation board is gone. Also, to bring that up. But just so we don't get checked for misinformation, it's not half. It's 49% of Joe Biden's Twitter followers. 49% of his Twitter followers aren't real. Are you kidding me? This guy won the election, most popular president of all time. 49% of his Twitter followers aren't even real. All of his votes are real, though. Most safe and secure election, right? We're supposed to believe this. Do you believe? I don't believe that. I just don't. I'm not saying... Even if there's not mass grand scale fraud, election fraud, voter fraud, were there a couple? Were there a dozen? Were there 1,000? Were there 10,000?
Here's the real question.
Was it enough to change an election, Ryan?
All I'm saying is it's just awfully coincidence that the guy whose son likes Parmesan cheese and crack cocaine together, that sits on boards on foreign governments that are at war with each other, as well as other superpowers and possibly China connections back into the back doors of the president. I believe all this was on a laptop at some point around that time of the election.
Well, a few laptops, yeah.
And it's just a little coincidental that I think we obsess on the number of actual votes having to be actual real physical votes for it to be stolen. Which is the whole thing of what, like, Mike Lindell,
my pillow guy.
Yeah, what he was proving was it didn't, like, even the mail-out ballots were bad enough, right? Basically, because I and David both said this at the time. Fine with mail-in ballots and stuff, you want to do that, but maybe not for the first time during a pandemic in the middle, in a rush, and all the, maybe this isn't the time to implement this. Maybe there will be problems, at bare minimum, and maybe we're seeing some of that now. But we don't need that many ballots if they can just hijack the computers. And I bring up the Chinese because the Chinese make all of the fucking computers.
Ryan.
They mine all the minerals for all the things. We've given them all of our technology. We have great things here in cybersecurity and all these things. Yeah. But how many articles have we referenced on this program about the Chinese being in bed and in every multinational level corporation? If you don't think the Chinese government and other government agencies across the board, across the globe, or maybe internally, not saying that people would want this in America, but I'm sure some do, would help the communist Chinese steal the election from us. The Chinese wanted Biden over Trump, even though they, people say their policies are similar.
Yeah. Hey, can you hold on 1 second? I'll be right back. All right. This is long overdue.
What the hell's going?
I told Ryan that we're almost. I told Ryan that we're going to be in season 3 soon, and we're long overdue. We haven't done this. We did it first season. We haven't done it yet. I think it's time for episode 2 of Conspiracy Cast. In season 2 of the weekly show. That's what this is. We're going to be on season 3 very shortly.
You know who else do seasons for their podcasts that are like a 50-week season? No. Jordan fucking Peterson.
Does he really? See, he believes in the human psyche. He's a smart guy. We never did Conspiracy Cast this season yet. So this is Conspiracy Cast 2. And the reason is because, Ryan, we have been so right about so many things.
This is so... Yeah, because that's really what we've argued. We've argued since the beginning of it. At bare minimum, the media has influenced the election. They lied, they cheated, they stole, they had an invested interest, they pushed narratives. And now we're seeing the very things that were told and were brought up at that. Remember when cancel culture wasn't a thing? Do you remember that? That was within this president that they even call it. The freaking media caught up to the internet and say cancel culture. That was a thing on a right-wing 8chan post, probably. That's probably what they called it at first, but it definitely was like a internet thing for the, basically us, the red pills.
So do you think there's a difference between Twitter's definition of free speech and Elon's definition of free speech?
Twitter does not ruin free speech. Some of my colleagues are super left. Our jobs are at stake. He's a capitalist. If we were really operating like capitalist mode, we were very socialist, but we're all like communists. When I don't know if the two parties can truly coexist on one platform.
Well, right now we don't make profit, so it's going to say ideology, which is what's led us to not being profitable.
The rest of us who have been here believe in something that's good for the planet and not just to give people free speech. Because again, these people really do believe in what we're doing. These are the policies we've put in place for misinformation or mislabeling media or whatever.
Yeah.
Why do you think this should be taken down?
Yeah.
Those are the questions they're going to ask him.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard for him to be because people should make their own decision. It's no, but people don't know how to make a rational decision if you don't put out correct things that are supposed to be out in the public. As an advertiser, as my business, is what I do every day and why I go out is we want it to be as fair and transparent and accurate as possible.
Yeah.
And if that means there's a level of censorship to make it correct, quote unquote, again, and what does correct mean? I guess it just kind of goes into the idea of what is correct?
If we're implementing all these rules and Elon wants to dismantle them, then technically our ideology has led us to not making money because we're not making money. And Elon wants to turn it the other way so that we can make money. There's a statement they need all 7,000 people to say. And so they can't tell us that the real truth.
He has Asperger's.
Yeah, I know that.
So he's special. You're special needs. You're literally special needs. So I can't even take what you're saying seriously. Targeting of tweets.
Wait.
You can read it.
Let me see. And how to protect yourself. Groups like Project Veritas are active right now.
It's some group that's trying to just out the employees. They're trying to go on dates with them like this and record them and then go sell it to the New York Times and say, this is what the Twitter employee just said. This is what's really happening. This is what they're telling us to not do. You're lucky that you met me organically because I would be questioning everything about you.
It's not really amazing because, you like murder docs, right, Dave? These people are fucking psychopaths. Yeah. That guy said it wonderful because it's his own words, but what he basically says, give me all the power, I'll make the world a better place for you. That's not how it works. And the problem, his thing about correct, it's not...
We just need to make it like super correct. The information just has to be so correct.
The thing you're going for is truth, at least, but let's just look at it journalistically. You're just going for truth. Right?
That's what you should be going for, sure.
Yeah. It's just truth, but we're talking about freedom of speech. So freedom of speech and truth in itself are different. You use freedom of speech to get the truth, which is really why they hate it. But just in general, those aren't exclusive. Like, you don't need to speak truth only to have freedom of speech. Like, you can have one without the other. You can not speak truth and still have the freedom of speech. Like, the idea, they're psychopaths. These people know exactly what they're doing, and they told you. They tell you.
And we've told you.
We've told you. People before us told you, the forebears of this information, and I'm just relaying it at a, just updating it from modern lenses. Those people that came before that everybody knows that you can't speak of, maybe they'll be back on the internet. Who knows? But the damage is done. You know, like...
The damage is done, but I don't want to be too optimistic here. Is it being undone? Is it Twitter buying, or Elon buying Twitter, is it undoing the damage? Because we're starting to see this now, and I know we see this. People on a mass scale need to see it too, and I don't know if they are, but the average person sees that. I don't think the average person is okay with this. I really don't.
Here's another question to actually bring up. Is there fake followers to increase it in the algorithm?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have the exact answer to it, but, I mean, it would have to, right?
Like, not even just give you perception, but like the actual self mathematically that you have more people in there. I mean, isn't it so funny, too, that we lost bots, but Joe Biden had bots this whole time? How long have they had bots? All these questions, obviously. We're never going to know. But the whole point of it is they were botting. They were getting rid of bots. How many times has it happened on Facebook? We're getting through and clearing up bots for everything else, but didn't do it for political candidates. Now, granted, if you do this to some Republicans, this would happen, I'm sure. Maybe not so many, though. But
yeah, there's definitely bots on both sides, for sure.
Yeah, Trump didn't have half his Twitter followers bots, though. I'll tell you that much.
I don't think so, and the reason I know that...
Back to the whole 2020 election thing, like you...
Sure, and the reason I think that is, I mean, you saw his rallies. Bots
I went to them.
Bots don't go to rallies. That's one thing. I mean, there were 7 people at a Biden rally. There were thousands and thousands and thousands at Trump rallies. Another reason I'm not so sure about the election, but...
Dude, I've never seen... The only time I ever went to anywhere that was, like, remote to, like, a Trump event or something... Like, the Trump events were, like, Bill's Tailgates. Now, granted, it's around here, the ones I've been to. But even all my Republican things, like, I know that they're not getting that same traction. They were at college campus when I went and saw Bernie at UB. There was a lot of kids there. But granted, it's a campus. I mean, all the Republicans I ever met were on, like golf courses almost, you know? Like... You know, I haven't bought my way onto a dinner quite like that, but I mean, literally, like, I had to go somewhere that wasn't like this big public event or on the side of the road, and the enthusiasm of all the people I know in the Patriot movement, there's no way. I mean, like, that's the problem. Like, a lot of the people on, it seems like the Patriot movement, at least to me, are impassioned, and that's why it seems like they're authoritarian, right? Because they're like, they get so defensive, right? Because they feel threatened because you're attacking their way of life. That's how we feel about the freedom of speech, at least in this particular...
I think part of that is because we're constantly under attack.
Yeah, exactly. But then when the left, like the left is just authoritarian it just seems like it's naturally authoritarian. It just wants that power. Like, it's just always going to work towards more power because naturally their ideology is to get power, or at least to have it at government levels or a board or a council or some kind of... They won't let freedom naturally happen.
Well, you've excellently set me up unknowingly for what I wanted to talk about next. And that's COVID, Ryan.
Oh, fantastic.
But is it COVID? Because it's not really all about COVID. And what it really is, I found a really fascinating...
Is it monkeypox, David?
I'm trying to think how I set all this up. Because there's so many things that tie into it.
What, monkeypox or COVID? I'm sorry.
So I found an article about a Canadian doctor. And that led me to look into a little deeper into the conspiracy aspect of it. And that led me to the... And that led me into the World Economic Forum. Yeah, these things are hot too. I can see why food cooks in tinfoil.
Oh, the World Economic Forum. That's weird. Never heard them before.
Well, it is very strange. So the article I saw that led me to all this, and we can discuss it real quick because I know you're going to want to. Canadian doctor diagnoses a woman in British Columbia with climate change after breathing problems during summer and heat waves and wildfires. She was diagnosed with climate change. Dr. Kyle Merritt had worked through a record-breaking heat wave and wildfires when he met a 70-year-old patient with worsening medical conditions. He then diagnosed climate change as a key reason for her decline in health. And then that led me into thinking, like, why would a doctor diagnose somebody with climate change? That's a really weird thing to do. And then I thought...
That's a weird question to be asking, David. Why would you do such a thing? Why would we need to...
Because that's how our brains work, Ryan. That's why we're naturally investigative people. I didn't think, like, oh, that's weird. Climate change is killing people. My first thought was not that. My first thought was, why would a doctor diagnose climate change? Because that's not science. Well, then that naturally led me to COVID, and I thought, that's weird, man. It's almost like people want to use things to control everybody's lives. We just did it with COVID. So if we make climate change like COVID, then you can just control people through climate like they've tried to do for decades.
Dude, imagine having the statistic that 1 million people have died of climate change this year, and you're like, no, that's not real. Like, no, this didn't do it. But like, yeah, they did. And then when you look at all 1 million people, all of their death certificates say climate change. So you can't deny the fact that they died of climate change, even though it's fucking forest fire. The guy was battling a forest fire and died of climate change. What was it? What did the person was in a forest fire?
They noted the doctor had worked through record-breaking heat waves and wildfires, and then he met a 70-year-old patient with worsening. And a 70-year-old patient is almost always worsening, right? They're 70 years old. That's just the nature of being old.
But yeah, they probably smoked cigarettes their whole lives. Yeah, it's climate change.
So that, again, led me to COVID, because I know people are trying to control people. That's the elites want to control you. That's just how it is. Call me tinfoil hat if you want. That led me to the World Economic Forum, because they're, in my opinion, as I'm seeing more and more of them, they are clearly at the top of all of this, because globalism is inevitable, right? Xi Jinping. And I found an interesting article on the World Economic Forum.
What'd you find? What's it say, David?
It was 20 things, I believe. I think the article was something along the lines of 20 things we learned from the COVID pandemic.
It's kind of odd, David, that like it didn't take you very long, right? Like from this very thing of like, yeah, cool. And you said this was all just different articles you loosely started behind, and that's like what's
tying straight together, as you put it.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, but it's not that it works, but it's actually true. Like when you can see, you only have to do like an hour of reading, and you're like, wow, I understand it. Like why they're pushing this. So you just like naturally go through these little steps, and you just
so wonderful. I found 20 things.
So what they learned from 20 things.
And we could, I'll send you the.
I'm glad it was a learning experience. This thing that they have grown in a lab.
Oh well, yeah. So I'll send you the article later. You can read through some of the other ones, but one of them was that we need to protect ourselves from future pandemics, like, I don't know, people dying of climate change. Krista Lagerstedt, CEO and founder of the 1928 Diagnostics. I don't know what that is. Unfortunately, I don't see we're heading towards a post-pandemic world, since the current coronavirus is not the last threat to humanity. I don't know. What's the next one? Monkeypox? Climate change, probably. And
crystal ball up there, I guess.
There was also a really fascinating video clip in there, and it's not super long, but this video clip, just to set it up, this is filmed very early into the COVID pandemic, and what you'll find is that the World Economic Forum apparently ran a simulation about a breakout right before the breakout happened, which I'm sure is just a coincidence.
This is what we learned. Experts have long warned about the threat of a global pandemic. Have tried to plan for one.
October 19, right
we
before.
Ran a simulation called Event 201.
More and more disruptive to health and to economy. And the reason we called it Event 201 is we knew eventually one of those days, one of those events would be the big one. And that big one would really challenge our capacity to respond. And to respond to the big one, we do need to have all hands on deck.
Globalism. Organizers invented a disease. Oh, they mocked up news reports. That's interesting.
Yo, how?
Participants are confronted by a hypothetical
scenario
that presents to them the challenges of a response. So we will say, here's a hypothetical disease outbreak. This is the way it might be evolving. And these are some of the challenges that you'll see that you'll have to address to address the disruptions that you're seeing to your healthcare system or to your organization.
Hypothetical scenario. They keep saying hypothetical, which is very suspicious.
Well, I mean, it's not like anything like was recently that did something similar to that or any of those steps.
Realize pretty quickly just how underprepared we are and just how much is possible when we work together. And that the individual actions of any government or company won't add up to a proper global response. I think
individual actions aren't enough.
Collectively, the international community has never done enough to respond to global health security challenges. That we knew before COVID that the world was underprepared for biological risk.
Protect jobs, health, and the economy.
Into the room in New York, if you would have asked, do you think the world is prepared for a pandemic? I think everyone around that table would have said no. But it's when they walked out, I think it's when we really knew that if we are going to get ready, we need to have operationalized and integrated public-private cooperation that we haven't seen before.
Public-private corporate...
The WHO has labeled coronavirus a pandemic. That's weird.
Why are they showing the Coliseum? Oh, to show it's all over the globe? You fucking cocksuckers, dude. I swear.
COVID action platform with the WHO.
To galvanize
collective action,
livelihoods, and facilitate business continuity. Cooperation and support for the response. You know, serious question. Is it working together if you force it?
Technically, sure. Technically.
You know, once again, these people are psychopaths. The Twitter guy bragging about what they're doing is the same thing these people are doing. And once again, these are the very people that know how cinematography work. Did you see the camera angles and how he was like moving and all these like little cues? He's a very good actor. He's slick. He's probably, you know, he's not very attractive, so he's not threatening. Like you don't think they don't think about that when they pick, like, if a guy's too hot, you're not gonna pay attention to what he's saying. He's got a nice calm voice and like you don't think it's not an accident? That guy didn't just like magically get that, like, oh yeah, I got lucky. No,
you know what else is not an accident?
Words, all those words, Dave, that you called out there, the thing, what was it, collectivism? Like they're telling you it's the death of individualism.
They specifically said individual efforts aren't going to be enough. We need collective action. It's also not a coincidence, speaking of
global community,
that in October of 2019, world elitists were creating a fake pandemic, and then a few months later we had a real pandemic. Maybe it is a coincidence, but that seems pretty odd. Pretty strange. And they knew we wouldn't be ready. They knew we wouldn't be ready. That's what they got out of this. That's
man, why and knowing we wouldn't be ready, we would just be willingly to throw over all unilateral funds and power and individual freedom and private business and the ability to grow economies and to not have 50-year high recession rates. Could you imagine if we didn't have to trade that because we would have known about this something be possible that could inflict our whole life?
The real simulation was them controlling everybody through a pandemic. That was the actual simulation. And that's why this doctor in Canada is not going to be a one-of story. Diagnosing people with climate change is going to be a more common practice. I guarantee
your
you.
house because you have climate change.
Sorry, you have climate change. We have climate change outside. You better lock down. That's why. Why do you think people are preparing the meta? They're preparing for lockdowns on a larger, longer scale.
Yeah, and they're going to give you the things, and then you got to work in there for fake money that's not even worth anything. So you'll slave away all day for a $5 cheeseburger. I've said this. Good point, Dave. I've said that you'll get your little box. It's not a joke. They're going for broke. God damn, I hate these people. Look, for people playing bingo at home who haven't paid as long as paid far long
bingo.
Yeah, as long as Dave and I have been. When you see that they're like, this is to cultivate sustainability and all, like the economy and business, what that means is they're going to select who is going to win and who will lose. And it's going to be everybody will lose but a few.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got news for you. We are going to lose.
And it's also funny, they said a public-private company. They didn't say multiple private-public companies. Not that I'm expecting to them just have multiple corporations to fight combat climate change. We have to have one corporation. It's the only way to get it done is if one person has all the power. I'm pretty sure a guy did this not too long ago in Germany.
Yeah. Well, he did it at a national scale, right? He was a nationalist, filthy nationalist, but now it'll be globalist, so it'll be nice. It'll be good.
Global Nazis, I can't wait. But not Nazis are right-wing extremists. How do they equate fascism to right-wingism in particular?
I think they do it through the nationalism.
The nationalism?
Right, but they throw out all of the other things like the socialism. Throw all that socialism out. He was a nationalist, right-winger. It's like, well, all right, I guess. I mean, if you throw all of the other things out, I guess, sure, yeah, he was a nationalist. You nailed it.
And once again, to go back to the script that they gave, that guy didn't come up with those words. He didn't think about those. These were given to him. He rehearsed these. Like, think about this. That's the problem, too, with everybody having Instagram. We see things. We forgot that they produce stuff. Because you produce your own thing. Oh, it's a filter. And then Kim Kardashian does a filter. But you forget that they've been filtering everything else you see. So you just we're so devalued because we have so much screen time. We forget things are produced and written and rehearsed and reconstructed.
And not real conversations like we have here, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
This guy was given a script. I always tell you guys, words are important. Words are power. Words are magic. They used all the ones, man. All the ones that thieve you of individual liberty, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, the substance of your future endeavors, prosperity, whatever founding father words I can use. That's what maybe we have to start using is the old. We have to keep using these old words. Second Amendment, Constitution, Declaration of Independence. Do I have to have an individual Declaration of Independence?
Well, I'm going to take this one step further, Ryan, because you just said it, Second Amendment. I think we are the loss of one freedom away from official globalism. I think as soon as we lose the Second Amendment, globalism is right in line.
What's crazy is we don't even have to lose the Second Amendment to have globalism at our doorstep. Which is so scary. Because, yeah, Dave, you're absolutely right. Obviously, the founders knew this has always been why it's in the framing of the Constitution. For people who don't know, and I heard it this week with the buffalo shoot, and the guy said, you don't need an AR-15 for deer hunting. Why don't you use a 22? People who are playing at home, a 22 is .22. Like, mathematically, a AR-15 is .223. 223.
223. It's basically the same round.
It's negligible. Only thing that matters is the black powder behind it. But this is all the stuff they don't want you to know. They don't want you. But it's besides the fact.
You know what people use a lot for hunting is a 30-06. Did you ever see one of those rounds? They look terrifying. You can
hunt with a handgun. By definition, everything would be overkill then, right? The point is not the point. The framers knew what we were doing. Knew what they were doing. I believe. I'm not mistaken on this, but the Second Amendment was almost universal in its passing because most everybody was scared of the federal government getting power again, including Thomas Jefferson, founding fucking liberal.
I mean, liberal by those standards. I mean, he'd be a pretty stout Republican these days.
I guess I'll smooth it with this one. The reason they're pushing globalism truly, and like Dave said, we have individual rights. We have individual rights by our creator, not government. We have individual rights to own guns and freedom of speech and practice our religion. It's to the individual. Read your Declaration, read your Constitution, read the Bill of Rights. That's to you personally, not just your neighbors, not just, oh, we all have freedom. No, you as a person. That's why it was revolutionary. Dave, what was the war called that we fought?
The Revolutionary War?
Was anything different? Was it a special war? Why was it revolutionary, David? Because they fought for fucking freedom, goddammit.
Ryan,
I believe they called it the War in the 13 Colonies or something. I don't even think they called it the Revolutionary War. That was like the thing but the idea is because it was a revolutionary idea that we had individual liberties given to us by our creator, and our government was made to uphold those rights. That's their only job, and that's why I said earlier about Twitter, the few weeks and everything else. It's not their position. We did not give them these authorities, and these are the things we vacated. These are the things these globalists, these are the things that these collectivism, these socialisms, these people that work at Twitter, they have an ideology to thieve you of these liberties. That's why we are so against it. And that is why it's got to be a conspiracy. Because they can't willingly sell you to give up the freedom of speech. They can't willingly sell you to give up the ability to defend yourself. So they have to hijack your emotions when innocents die. Or when people's feelings are hurt on the internet. That's when they gut your freedom. That's why I hated to do it. I did a little breakdown on the little news coverage on the thing at Tops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't even want to do it. I felt gross. I felt like it peeled my skin. It wasn't right. It's too fresh. But here's all them commentating, lying, getting ahead of the narrative, creating the emotion to make people fucking trapped in a box about it. I can't let my countrymen like that. So now I got to go out there. I got to be the scumbag. I got to feel gross. Even though it's the right thing, it's the truth. They can't willingly sell you to give up your freedom. They can't willingly sell you to give up. We have children. Apparently, children are starving, but Biden can send $40 billion to Ukraine. That's the new one this week. You know, I don't just come on here to complain. We come up here to document that they are willingly doing this on purpose. It's not incompetence. It's not an accident. It is not by just a whim. It is a designed, militaristic, scientific, fantasy takeover of your life because they brainwash you and they take everything from you. Your education, your healthcare, your food and water supply, your air quality, everything. It's all been accounted for. Go full conspiracy. You're good, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say other than Biden stealing the election, Twitter censoring conservatives, and globalism coming from the next climate change pandemic, that's all I had today. A couple small things.
Just the conquering of the human domain. You know, I got sick this week. I told you it was other things. I got a lot going on, blah, blah, blah. I plan on, like, all these things, right? I just thought, I'm worn down. I'm not eating. And then I was like, I pay attention to those plates. Everybody I know got similar. I was shaking. My dad's shaking. Same, allergies. We all got the same allergies now? Is that the new thing? We got social allergies? We all get the same allergies? Oh, yeah, shakes is normal for allergies for you and your dad. You know, I didn't see him when I was sick. I got sick 3 days before he got sick. That's fucking weird. Maybe you gave it to him. I didn't see him when I was sick. I pay attention to what you're doing up there. I think you're spraying shit. You know what? Fuck him. I know it. I've been watching. And you know what's funny? If you call it chemtrails, they call you a conspiracy theorist. But if you type in geoengineering, you get Google results.
So let's just use that term. Screw chemtrails. Let's call it geoengineering.
It's chemtrails because it's fucking poison floating down. You know.
I don't even care what the term is. If they're admitting to it, let's just call it what it is.
COVID. Fuck them. COVID's not real either. I read an article. You know what? I might just read it inch by inch for you guys because it's ridiculous. It said I actually sent it to Dave, and it was talking about how you're lucky if you haven't caught COVID for a certain reason. Haven't had COVID yet? Question mark. It could be more than just luck. Now, I have not washed my hands extra. I've not worn masks. I have not social distanced. I thought I've had COVID 3 times. I've been driving everywhere. I haven't been willingly getting people sick, YouTube and government.
Your door's kicked in.
But I'm told it's just supposed to be luck or something. But it's more than luck. You read the article. It said it could be genetics. It's all these. They don't fucking know. They still don't know. I haven't come into. I'm not vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You don't have your 6th booster?
I've lived through 8 variants of COVID. People are on their 5th shots getting COVID. They're like, oh my God, it messed me up. It's like, yeah, no, man, I got the shakes twice. Took a couple tests, nothing. Negative. Bring it on. What am I scared of? Now, granted, I know people that got it, blah. I'm not really saying it's fake. But how do I know? Apparently, we got social allergies. Everybody's allergies are the same. My dad and I have the same exact allergies. I bet you ask any people in this area, they got sick the same way this week. I know they're spraying shit in that area. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of people thinking that it's not happening. I think they did it. They did it. Why wouldn't you do it during the once-in-a-lifetime pandemic? If they're running simulations on what would happen during a pandemic, you don't think they switched everything? I just seen this week, it shared in the December chat, that they're allowing, the FDA approves GMO cattle fed for food, for beef, for our food supplies. Genetically modified food to be fed to our food.
There you go. You don't want to have a shortage, right?
Because we're being told by Bill Gates, who's not a scientist, that we can't do this naturally. Even though that's a lie.
Well, how could you possibly feed animals naturally? I mean, there's no way that something like that could occur.
And all the grass that you're forcing me to burn down. Can't have tall grass, makes CO2.
Could I have a cow that eats the tall grass? No, that makes CO2. Could I eat the cow to reduce the CO2? No, then that creates CO2. Nope, climate change is a pandemic.
I'm telling you, they did it. They did it. They can make it rain in Saudi Arabia. They can make it rain chemicals that make me sick in Buffalo. I know they did. I don't care if people call me crazy.
That's not fake.
Do your filter. No, it's not fake. Grab the filter out of your house. That's the one I've heard people have caught the government with, is the air filter in your house, the cabin filter. And you can go get that tested at scientific research. They can actually draw out the chemicals in there. The guy had to pay, but it was like freaking crazy toxins that shouldn't be there.
I just want to see if I can bring up a quick video of that.
I mean, you could test the rainwater tablets and everything over the ages. There's weird stuff in there. This has been known. People have done it far brighter than me. I'm just here yelling at the beacon, but I'm tired of it.
Live science.
What? Live science?
Live science.
It's not even a real thing.
Geoengineering. Can we control the weather? Geoengineering is the term used to describe the manipulation of weather to combat the effects of global warming. Stop trying to get me to subscribe to your shit.
I thought it was climate change, dude.
Speaking of, subscribe to the channel, and comment on this video also. According to the Oxford Geoengineering Program,
what? They have an Oxford program of geoengineering?
Yeah. These methods are generally split into 2 categories: carbon dioxide removal and solar geoengineering. Ooh.
Sounds
Removing
fancy.
the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere helps to prevent the sun's warmth being trapped in the Earth's lower atmosphere and reduce ocean acidification. Well, that's not a good thing, really. For the record, as somebody who very much likes corals and reefs and stuff, the acidification of the ocean is extremely important to coral growth, which is really weird because we're seeing massive coral die off and we're blaming it on the less than 1 degree raise in temperature. I won't get into the science of it, but it's really But yeah, it's fascinating.
Plants need fucking carbon dioxide to make oxygen for me to breathe.
That's why it's called a greenhouse effect.
Look.
We have more trees now than ever. Thank you.
I'm just going to go full AJ. It's because they want to demonize carbon because they hate you and they want to get rid of you. They think we're cancer. I just seen an article this week that talked about the Georgia Guidestones and how they're a tourist attraction and how people are flocking there. And the people that thought the thing showed up in the 80s, nobody knows whoever did it and built it. But everybody's like, yeah, we don't think it's a bad omen at all. Just talks about global population reduction. And I bet you Bill Gates has got money spent into that.
Elon, did you see Elon brought up something about the population? He said that we could double the population and we'd be fine.
Yeah, but we're not. Here's the thing. I don't know anything, but I've listened to people that know stuff. And they said when you look at all the stuff, Western decline will happen. We're actually at the most people we'll probably ever have ever again. There's going to be a mass die-off of people. We may have to repopulate. I'm glad we take our unborn. Isn't it ironic? Did I say this last week? But a few weeks ago, abortion's a hot topic, and then this week we can't even feed our babies baby food, the live ones.
You said that last week, yeah.
But I mean, this is what we're talking about, and they say we're a cancer. And they push it to our children that you're bad and we're going to pollute and the earth won't be here in 2040.
Or 2020 or 2010.
Tell me what you're going to do tomorrow. Most people don't even plan a week of their life out. You're going to this is how they hijack. You know what I mean? Like, once again, same people that make cinema and music and know how to get you in your feelings and emotions and then sell you this wonderful script that's written by award-winning actors and Oscar fucking noteworthy script writers and storyboard tellers and animations and CGI that looks so real. You think they spend money to make shit look real to not make you think it's real? I know most people here understand that, but we even forget. I even forget that, like, while they're selling me this, it's like, why? Like, I get mad now, but I forget that people are still hooked in, man. We have to still unplug people. I'm not expecting it to happen with everybody, but I have my conversations still for that reason. But you almost forget how they do it. You know what I mean? That World Economic Forum view is perfect. Music, his caring eyes. So I won't keep beating that, but that fucking... It's frustrating. But shout out to Mike. Mike Panda Bear.
Mike what?
The Panda.
Oh, okay. So I thought you said his last name. I thought I had to beep it again.
No, he actually reached out to me this week and we were talking about stuff, and he said it's really a shame that the world's greatest generation saved the whole world from tyranny just for their children to give it away.
That's 100% true.
For safe spaces, for government pension jobs, for free
that makes me think of that meme I always laugh at when I see it. It's Thomas Jefferson in the Founders. And he's like...
like when you look away from a second.
Very disappointed the Founders would be.
I honestly wonder if it's always been like this. Because America's such a rarity. I'm going to get to it. There's a certain point, especially about our history, that they always bring up to demonize us, to destroy your culture. But I'll get to it. And it was just like such a powerful thought, and it actually resonated with me. And that's why it's so powerful that we talked about truth and Twitter and freedom of speech and individualism. Because it's like, I know they seem like they're separated, but it's a spirit, right? The spirit of freedom and all that. The Founders talked about it. Lady Liberty, they gave us that image. Mm-hmm. They gave us an image of a woman and an eagle so that people could that's it's a good representation. It's not by accident. They had that same feeling we have, right? They were just able to give us something. But a lot of the stuff ties together, and I'll get to it. But I got some other things I can breeze through quick. I am going to say one thing about news in general. I'm so tired of when you go to read a news article. There's something about it said I was going to breastfeed my baby until I lost my breasts. Now, I talked about I didn't even get into it because
Like she physically lost them? She had like breast cancer or something?
Yeah, I'm assuming she had to have a hysterectomy. She had to have a mammogram.
There you go.
I was kidding. I know women's anatomy.
We're no scientists, but
I know my way around a few places. Hey. So I'm assuming that, but I didn't even get to read that because she was just like painting. I know why we paint the mood, right? But it's a news article. It's not a story. But then I realized that's how they tell all news now. It was a late evening Wednesday night, and the president landed in his chopper. Trump entered with his extra long tie dragging on the ground from his past mistakes in Pennsylvania from the failed runoff of the governor race. You don't think they do that by purpose? You can't. They could write that shit in a paragraph.
Yeah, it could have been a lot easier. President Trump arrived in Pennsylvania on Wednesday morning. That's how the news used to say it.
Yeah, and it used to because they had substance and they didn't have to battle with 70 billion other people, obviously. But the whole thing still remains that they paint these things. They use stories because we're story creatures, but they use stories to sell you to make you believe a certain way. But it's so frustrating trying to get information out of fiction, man. Like, just tell me. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I only clicked on the article because I know why they had it that way, right? I'm smart enough. It's only there because the freaking baby formula problem's a thing this week because people are saying just breastfeed. Not everybody can breastfeed and blah, blah. Which brings up great points about our diets, our sleeping habits, women not taking care of themselves, men not being good fathers. Like, there's so many things to talk about.
It is true, but
yes, and then
we do this a lot with abortion too.
Just like, this is exactly like,
what's the percent?
You throw the baby out with the bathwater because you're like, instead of discussing how well can you maybe get there, can we maybe figure out a way to have more women breastfeed? Can we cultivate a better society to do it? Because it's the healthiest way for freaking kids to eat, so everybody should do it. Which is why it's a hot topic, because the right, the anlegivical Christians, all these crazy labels they throw around, they got to make it seem like they're archaic, but people are like, just breastfeed. You know, I know somebody, shout out to Nancy. She said, I didn't have to worry about that. She put this on social media. She's like, I didn't have to worry about that. I was able to nurse my babies, you know, but she's like, I can't imagine being a mother right now. And you know what? That's the shit we need. Because you can go to Nancy, be like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Like, we should be encouraging the conversation. Can we get there? Can I help? You know, but we're stuck on the problem. That's the problem. Everybody's scarcity. We're stuck on the problem, which is a shortage of baby formula because the government sucks. There's formula everywhere else. I believe I said that 2 weeks ago, and now we're seeing Defense Production Act. The Biden's got to ratchet up government funding to fly baby formula in across the borders. Why don't you take the Mexicans back and have them bring it over with them? We should actually just be doing that. Should be using the cartel to smuggle baby formula into the country. Two birds with one stone. Have them fill out a green form card, and then I can, you know, you can collect taxes or whatever they do. It's just... we know it's by design. I just bring it all up because it is crazy. Like, these people, they have hijacked our country. It's obviously apparent. They want globalism. Dave brought up great points with the Twitter thing is so crazy. Half the dude's Twitter. Biden talked about monkeypox this week. I don't know if you've been seeing this. John actually had some things early.
Thought I had monkeypox. I don't know if it'll come up. It's not going to focus. It turns out it was just a burn because I burned it on like a 3,000 degree part on my car. It's not monkeypox.
Yeah, Biden said that we should be concerned about monkeypox. John this week earlier in the December chat broke down how coincidentally the company that made monkeypox many years ago put some on freeze, like 100 million vials, put it on freeze just in case.
That's weird.
Not saying, I mean, maybe we should, but it's just coincidental. Maybe they ran a
simulation.
Yeah, maybe they fired up a computer, be like, man, we got 100 million files laying around.
2 months before it happened.
I seen an article, the London Telegraph, speaking of globalism being inevitable. One way they're going to make it inevitable is be able to move you at will because you won't be able to afford a place to live, which is what we're seeing now. But there was the Telegraph article, which is about obviously over in Europe, England, or whatever. But it just said that they were being urged, buyers under no circumstance, to take a long-term mortgage.
You know what's interesting about that? That same article, the 20 things we learned from COVID or whatever, One of them was basic housing rights.
Like concentration camp?
Yeah, some type of housing, you know.
Basic
something along those lines. Like you know, like an apartment or a concentration camp, one of those things. I'll send you the article. There's more to it than just what I put.
This goes even further, because you can't have this shit if there's men in society. People aren't when I say people aren't going to go to work, like that's what the founding fathers did. They're like, we're not going to work, and they got it done. But they were hyper masculine men, obviously, because the time and all this other stuff. We're so weak now in comparison. We got all the soy, like, so why they destroyed? It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. But the point is, whether or not it's true or not, I'm not giving financial advice. Obviously, in England, I don't want this video getting flagged for more than election fraud.
Yeah, geez, what if we change the election in England because of this?
Because talking about rent is too damn high. So, if you guys don't know, look up that video. That guy looks like a black Colonel Sanders.
The rent is too damn high.
I live in a shoe. So I'm not being obnoxious for no reason with it, but they don't want you owning land at all, because like I said last week, we have to privatize our rights, and that's always kind of been known, but it's now more than ever. You have to build a life that you can have freedom, or you're not going to have it. So, yeah, they don't want you owning a house. And I also think they're a little bit of propaganda. I wouldn't doubt it if some big corporations put some money out there to print that article so that they could go buy up a bunch of homes, because people are scared about buying a house because the government told them not to buy the fucking house.
Like BlackRock.
I'm not naming companies, David.
Maybe they'll sponsor our next video.
BlackRock. Like, yeah, I heard you were selling Grandma's house. I just want to make you a deal. Haven't had COVID yet. I seen an article. AI of the future. AI is something. AI will be searching you for your guns.
Oh, that's good.
Look, this isn't new. If you think they haven't done this already,
are they at least?
Shit, 10 years ago they talked about how they were investigating drone technology so that they could tell if you were holding a handgun or a long gun from the air, thousands of feet. They've been doing this. This is just now being used in airports and Tops grocery stores and Walmarts and Taco Bells. That's where I'm going.
They can't use that at Walmart. That's what the greeter's for.
That fucking 3-bean cheese burrito guy really pissed me off last week. Need AI scanning technology to make everybody safe. I wonder if they're going to install those around government buildings for a certain reason.
Yeah.
Just in case the whole armed population comes down the street. Well, we can't afford everything. Look, I'm being obnoxious. That's why they build these systems. They're going to have us in a concentration camp. We're going to have all the freaking systems set up to spy on you, and we're not even going to be able to get firearms to defend ourselves. Dave said,
well, you can use the gun show loophole, Ryan. That's don't worry about that.
There's no gun show loophole. Literally a fucking myth.
People who believe in the gun show loophole have not been to a gun show.
You know what you find, like, when you talk to gun advocates and like gun people, like there's some of the especially about the firearm, obviously, but we just know more. Like you actually see like the level of like social knowledge and like civics of like what a Republican, like a lot of the people are like, no, we're a Republic, our gun owners, because we understand, you know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of like history involved with the freaking firearm. That's why it's so powerful. Because I was thinking about this with music actually in the car, but the firearm is like, it's our ancestral weapon. Like everybody should have the right to defend themselves all the way back to our earliest ancestors when they used rocks, swords, sticks, staffs, bows and arrows, spears. It don't matter. It's like, I think it's part of us. It's part of humans to need to defend ourselves. It's how we got here. I'm not saying we got to, murder our neighbors, but maybe some handguns at Tops could have helped. All right, 2 things, and then some Decembertainment.
Ooh, Decembertainment.
Ben Shapiro. I seen him have something about the this week.
Hold on, I can be Ben Shapiro real quick.
Conspiracy Shapiro.
I'm Conspiracy Shapiro.
Spears Shiro.
They're buying children at the cabinets in Wayfair.
Shit, Hunter Biden's house. And they're singing with that wet ass P word. Shapiro had something about a multiverse this week, which I'm not going to get into that, but I thought it was funny for the guy. You know, I know he's just covering the news, and Daily Wire's been expanding, so we're going to see a lot of this of them. They're going to have a lot of different stuff. Not to mention, I know he thinks it's cool. I don't think Ben Shapiro doesn't entertain like scientific universal stuff. Him and I have similar stances on aliens, though, which is kind of funny. He had something on the universe, but I'm not bringing that up because I seen him, but I seen another one. Because I know we like to talk about it here, Dave. Oh, the UFO thing was this week. Or last week, too. The UFO dropped. There's supposed to be something. But I seen an article that they said that there could have been another universe before the Big Bang.
Oh, before. Okay.
Maybe that's where that hollow universe is, Dave.
Is that where the nothing is?
It just don't make any sense, dude. No idea what they're talking about. It's like, why even bother? Like, well, stop. Just stop. Just write a book.
It's just there's nothing, and then the universe is ever expanding into nothing. I don't see what's complicated about that.
It just don't.
Just like if you don't have COVID, it could be genetics. We don't know, but it could
Genetics or luck. I don't know.
I don't have the answer, so here's a guess. Science.
Maybe lifestyle. Maybe like, I don't know, blood type. You remember they're like the blood type people are less likely to get it. Never heard anything about fat people, though. If you're fat, you're more likely. Whatever. Fucking cold.
Speaking of science, I shared that simulation in Decembertainment about the vaccines, how mRNA vaccines globally have been proven to cause blood clots.
Yeah, like hundreds of thousands, right?
Lots. Like I think it was a lot.
Hey, at least they weren't forcing me to get that to go back to my job.
Well, just get a few boosters and you'll be fine. I can get the actual number.
You know what? That World Economic video, not to double back here, but that World Economic video really makes me wonder what other simulations they're fucking running up there.
A study in the leading medical journal, Vaccines, that's the name of the journal, found that mRNA vaccines are significantly associated with deadly blood clots. The research team analyzed 1,154,023 adverse events from more than 130 countries. They're just adverse events.
Just 130 countries out of 200. It's no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. mRNA vaccines are just making everybody Jamaican. It's fine.
Just a cool thought. You know, I know we like to poke back and forth about our aliens and universe thing here with the nothingness. So we're just adding to the layer. There wasn't nothing, David. There was just other stuff over there. Just a whole nother. Maybe there was a Big Bang before that Big Bang.
Maybe I think the aliens caused the Big Bang.
Big Bang. Only reasonable explanation.
It was probably the end of their universe was the Big Bang, which started the new universe.
Well, how do we know that's just not the end of our universe? And then time's never ending. I heard something. Oh my god, this is so. I love.
The show's going to be 3 hours long by the time it's done. I hope everybody appreciates and watches.
I did tell Dave we should do more content. I got caught in the YouTube algorithm today with Joe Rogan, which doesn't happen a lot. But they were talking about time travel and what would happen. And the thought, the dude, whoever, Terrence McKenna or whoever,
he would be ripped to shreds.
No, well, whoever would invent the time machine from that day forward would be able to go anywhere in time forward back to that time. If we made it today, we'd be able to go
forward
it forever, right? So then the idea of time being this would be gone, right? And it would be time would be non-linear and nothing would matter. Money wouldn't matter, freedoms wouldn't matter, private property wouldn't matter.
It sounds like it's 2035. You own nothing, and you're the happiest you've ever been.
Well, it was just crazy because he said something. He's like, imagine you inventing something in the future after the time machine's made, right? Like I invent something, but with the time machine, I can go back in time and invent it before you could go back in time and invent the thing I invented before I invented it.
But could you go back in time with a time machine? Is the theory that I've always found it fascinating.
Wait, what, go back in time?
I don't think, in theory, a time machine, I don't think you could ever go back in time. I think you could only go forward. If the theory of time machine through wormholes was correct, I don't know how you would go backwards.
No, you'd be able to go, like, if we made it today, we'd be able to go, the furthest back we'd be able to go would be today, because that's when the time machine would be invented. So you could time machine in the time machine to the first time machine, and you would get to whatever today, 2022. But you couldn't go back any further than the invention of the time machine.
Right.
But that's not important. What's important is going forward after the time machine. Because the invention thing is what fucked me up. Imagine inventing something in the future after the time machine. Well, if you want to copy it or whatever, you could just climb a time machine, go invent it before I did, and then I didn't invent it. Like, how does anything get done? Like, what the fuck happens? It was just like a very cool... And this reminds me of this fucking galaxy thing, this infinite universe, nothing that I don't... It's just easier to say God's real, man. Just like... it's just way easier. No, they're dumb. They're just dumb people believing in super rocks, spirituality. Here I am hearing about universes inside of universes, and we're looking at a multiverse flipped upside down. God sounds a lot more probable to me, man. All right. So yeah, I'm getting to the part. Lex Fridman. I've talked about him on a podcast. Everybody in the space knows about him. He's awesome. I don't necessarily go to podcasts all the time. I've talked about this. I got caught up a little bit in some of his stuff this week too. But I forgot who he had on, but it was some black professor. The Nutty Professor.
I don't think it was the Nutty Professor.
Dr. Doolittle.
Professor
Professor Crunchy. But he had on this guy, I wish I knew his name, but they talked about slavery in America and human nature and what slavery talked about human nature. And the guy obviously goes through, breaks it down very nice about the past, present, the future slavery. Something he said, and this goes back to the whole freedom thing, Twitter, everything we talked about this week. Isn't it incredible if slavery is so prevalent in the human condition? For as far back as we go, there's been slavery, and we still have it. So it's never not been there. Why would we ever get rid of it then? Why would anybody in their right mind, if it's always been like that? We can call it morals, we can call it religion, we can call it the right thing to do. Whatever that is, fine. That's fine, I agree. It's the right thing, obviously, right? We made the world infinitely better. But why? Why? That's like that's the 1% mindset, right? Well, let's get rid of slavery. That's literally revolutionary. That's the one. So why even bother? What spurred that thought? It was powerful. It showed this human spirit, man. And it showed what happens when you talk and you have conversation in the right time in history, information, education, maybe some passion and luck, maybe divine guidance, whatever. But it's a powerful thought, because I think it's easy. We do it here too. It's so easy to just like focus on that negative shit. But like, if you could change your mind, it's not easy again, but that whole idea of like, wow, we always hear about the demonization of Western culture on a certain side of the aisle, and the right always looks at it that we ended it, and we're right. But the thing is, you don't go enough. You don't even go enough with how awesome America is, because the idea that we went through it all, and women too. Look at women. That's another prime example. And it's like that thought in all of human history was never even touched, never even discussed, never even thought of. It was never tried, as far as we know, for thousands of years. So why would we? And we did, and it works, and we're the best at. It's just like.
And to that guy's point, it's still that way in many countries today.
Yeah, there's more slaves now than ever.
Yeah. And then to your point with the women, I mean, there's countries where women can't drive and they still get stoned for. We are unique in the world, and especially in history.
Yeah, and it's easy for us, obviously, with our phones to just look and be like, well, look at what America's doing over here and all this. It's like, man, I don't know everything, but we got we got a lot of perception to look. I heard a thing on the PBD podcast about climate change as well, and then we'll move on here. But he was just talking about how China doesn't care, and why China doesn't care. And the guy that he had on, Pat David, the guy he had on was an environmentalist expert or whatever. He said China don't care because they're double dipping. They're going to sell you the coal, and then they're also going to make all the batteries and sell you those for electric. So they don't care.
Sure, but then what difference does it make to them?
But it was just kind of like this. I don't actually kind of know where I was going with that. But it's just like this kind of the whole idea. That's where it is. The whole idea that we have to like abandon our whole culture, and we have to like just fucking throw everything. Like that we're just terrible, and we have to like do it. When we do that, we end up turning to people we don't understand. We turn to people that don't have our motives at heart, right? Like right now we're facing the oil problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's prime. We're not energy independent. We're hearing that on one side of the aisle, so it's just stuff to think about, right? So I guess I'll get to Decembertainment. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Now I know this is like newsworthy. My sister watches some lawyer girl. I don't know her name. I wish I got her name. But she's like a lawyer nerd, ex-lawyer, and she does commentary on the trial.
Okay.
And I think she is more entertaining than the actual trial. And I was over at my mom's this week, and I just watched, and I like laughed at my mom and my sister like sulking in this fucking Johnny Depp thing. But it's funny how fascinated people are with it, man. It's like nobody cares about Ukraine anymore because Johnny Depp got his finger cut off. Captain Jack Sparrow, I guess.
Yeah.
But so I did that this week. I thought that was kind of cool, like experience some kind of new like content creator that I've never been like privy to, plus a new angle, like not political, lawyer breakdown of defamation cases, and
very difficult to clear that bar.
Yeah, and this woman is like cursing and stuff. She's out for my heart, she says fuck all the time. Yeah, it's just like super cool. Like she's like super quirky, and great personality. You know what I mean? Like it was just cool to like experience this new content creator. And then I got another one. I should have figured this. I don't know how the fuck I got here though. Oh, I read an article this week, and they found like monoliths in England somewhere, and it like made like another not a Stonehenge. Apparently Stonehenge ain't really a hedge, whatever. But it's another style of hedge. And so they dig up all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, it was used as like a weapons port during the English Civil War. Like, English Civil War? When the fuck did the English have a civil war? Now, granted, all of England's history has been a civil war. So it was like, what are they talking about? I typed it in. They had their own civil war. Who would have thought, What
was it about?
It was just like land. It's just land, that whole area, because of like the.
So it's about what wars are normally about.
Yeah, but it was just crazy. Like English civil, you always hear about American, but this was like in the 1400s. So
like a long time ago.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, a lot of those wars, when they ended, actually allowed for the family that owned England and everything to do what they did to come to the colonies. Like, you know what I mean? Like all that open.
Oh, so that like set us up. Interesting.
I believe. I don't know, but I believe with the way royalty is, there's a lot that goes back to that war, which is why I think it was so important and referenced in the article. Because it had, look, during the English Civil War, they were all royalty. Like a couple of kings had to go. I mean,
sure, yeah.
Something happened. But like, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla for a while and stuff, and that's all about like the different kingdoms and kings, and like that whole area has been like that for thousands of years. So I don't know, it's just kind of cool to learn something new about. I mean, I don't necessarily care about Europe the same way we do here, but it is our old country that predates America, so that is our history. Like our history is in the West over there. So it was cool. But my true Decembertainment this week, David, you like hip hop?
Yeah.
Did you hear Kendrick Lamar's new album?
No.
He released an album called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Very ambitious and very artistic for a rap album in 2022. There's a song called N95. Like it's what's that? It's a Kendrick song. I'm not the biggest Kendrick fan, but I will admire the level of creativity and art and everything else.
I will say, when it comes to like modern hip hop, he's a rare breed. Because there's so few like artists I would consider like a hip hop artist.
Yeah, dude, he like really showed like he's like a Da Vinci of hip hop, man. Like just like the themes, it's like a Broadway play. You know, it's like 20 something songs. He hasn't released the album in 5 years. Now, once again, I'm not the biggest Kendrick fan. I just love hip hop. You know, so like I know what it means, and like I respect his artistry. He's just not, you know, he's just not in my rotation all the time. I like J. Cole in particular. That's what I mean. Like I'd rather listen to J. Cole, even though I dig Kendrick's skills and everything else.
He's another one. He's one of those rare ones for modern hip hop. I think modern hip hop is going tremendously downhill.
Yeah, it's like my little brother, he's 17, and I was talking about the Kendrick album. He's like, I just couldn't get in. I was like, really, dude? I was like, try this song. He's like, yeah, you're right, man. This song's hard. I was like, dude, you gotta like, it's not, like he's consuming music like it's the commercialized 2022 streaming garbage. It's like, nah, dude, like you're, like I don't normally do this with music all the time either, but it's like, dude, you're consuming artwork. Like this, Kendrick Lamar is an artist, not just a rapper. So it was just very cool to see that there's art out there that isn't dying, that is celebrated, and I hope you. I don't know where I was going with that. But,
celebrate our art Mondays at 7.
I was trying, but it was too late. No, but honestly, Dave, maybe give it a shot. I didn't listen to the whole thing. It's a good play though. There's it's just cool to hear that in the new hip hop, like that old school shit that we had when we were younger. So I guess I'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody. Dave Ryan, December 1773. Made it to the end. I appreciate it the most. Like, comment, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. I'll see you guys at the premiere Mondays at 7 Eastern. And yeah, we'll be there live commenting. Till then, thank you, David. Thank you, everybody, for your time. And I'll see you there.
See you, everybody.
Conspiracy Cast.